been a while since I put a video up, but thanks once again for joining me on the channel. We have been so busy with all of the things that are going on around here, and I'm going to show you this latest build, which is a 79 Jeep Wagoneer that we put a 2006 HEMI Durango underneath, and it's done and driving. So as you saw in the opening segment, stick around, check it out. It's very, very cool, and it's loaded on a trailer right now. We're going to take it down south, and I'll see if by the end of this edit I'm able to get some of the really cool car show footage with cameras on the truck. Now I did some in-car with this Jeep. That's very cool, so you're going to want to see that. We've got actually parts for this truck are arriving today, finally. That Bronco back there, that hasn't had an update in a while, but it is ready for brakes and the fuel system, and honestly it will drive right out of here with another week or so's worth of work. Take a look at this Wagoneer. It's a blast, and there were a couple of snags along the way, so join me, won't you? This is a 1979 Wagoneer that we built. We put a HEMI 5.7 underneath it, and as a matter of fact, it's got modern steering, modern brakes, modern suspension, because underneath this skin is a 2006 Dodge Durango. One of the things we didn't do was get one of these bodies, these old J10, J20 style bodies on top of one of these, and I'm excited about it. So I want you to stick around, watch the in-car, watch the build process, and see it on the road, because let me tell you something, this thing rips. And just like that, today is over with. Why in the world would anybody buy such a thing? Because they're super cool. My main goal for right now is to get the back window down so I can open the tailgate and clean it out. But it looks like the seats are in good shape, and I'm gonna make this fit on that HEMI over there. Use this old battery. I should be able to get that window powered down. Usually the way these switches go, you have 3 wires. One is usually a power in, and then the other one is power up, power down, should be. And as long as I get the combination right, something should happen. Nothing. We're probably not even going to get to that far. Nope. Probably because there's another power feed somewhere. I thought if I supplied one, I would get power through it, but it's not happening that way. Alternately, I can go to the back, take the panel off, find the motor, and power it directly, which is probably the easy way instead of guessing. But give me a second. So here's the Jeep all cleaned up after the massive rainstorm, which we seem to get a lot of around here. But yeah, this thing is solid. It came out pretty clean. Yeah, it's not bad, right? You know, honestly, it doesn't even smell that bad. I do have the new headliner stuff. I had to repair some carpet, and I'm going to try to keep this floor. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean, overall, how cool, right? Seems like every year I test the structural integrity of this nonsense I've got secured with these legs is basically like a house of cards made out of toothpicks. But it's holding this whole body, glass and interior, the entire thing. I gotta make a bunch of adjustments, but I figured I'd get a little video part put in before I get too much further. I'm super busy. Hang on a second. There's something missing from this room. Yeah, I drove it out of here. I know this video kind of fast forwards, but the reality is it's been 5 days. 5 days since I had a running Durango and that body of that Jeep was dropped off on the ground. So I had help one day and a little bit of help removing the scrap, but otherwise I did it by myself. They've been long days, you know, make no mistake, but right now, this very moment, my computer is on hiatus. It seems to have eaten itself. So the footage, I'm storing it up, and there'll hopefully be a couple of videos all at once. But at any rate, tomorrow during the day, I will show you the thing. It runs and drives. I don't recommend you drive it because some of the body mounts are literally sitting on blocks of wood still. But I mean, I moved it, so that's like a win. I gotta clean up. Hang on, let me get back to this in a second. I expect you'd like to hear it. No muffler. Just a line light cut off. Yeah, pretty cool. Power steering, four-wheel disc brakes, independent front suspension. Fuel injected. 350 horse, 400 torque, it's plenty. It is middle of summer and it's really nice out, and it gets really hot certain days and muggy here because there's a lot of growth, moisture in the air, lake over there and whatever. I really should be riding my bike, my bicycle or my dirt bike, because we've got multiple ramps set up and that needs to happen. But first things first, I gotta get this thing to where I can drive it down the road. Maybe hang a dirt bike on the back of it, it'd be pretty cool. What we have here is a 1979 Wagoneer, not to be confused with the Grand Wagoneer, which came in various lengths, came in various trim packages, fake wood grain, really goofy American leather, but it's really touted as one of the first or the first SUVs made for the American market before they started using that stupid buzzword. Effectively, these were always and always will be, to me, a station wagon. That's what they are. Wagons are cool these days. What does Jeep Wagoneer have to do with Dodge trucks? You might ask. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'm gonna tell you. The AMC, American Motors Corporation, was eventually bought by Chrysler. Once Chrysler had it, they started producing these, and they were still under the Jeep name, still are today. I believe it's Fiat owns them now. You used to be able to get these when they were AMC, American Motor Corporation, with a 360 Dodge motor, which is a good platform for trucks and RVs and things of that nature. Something that I find super cool, and what kind of gave me the idea, is number one, I'm always doing something with a Dodge Durango. Now, back a few years ago, the Dodge Durango was discontinued. There's not a lot of similarities between old SUVs or old station wagons and modern ones, other than sometimes heritage or lineage. Which brings me to the point of the Dodge Durango, when it first came out, was a smaller vehicle kind of based on the Dakota platform, and then they moved up into a little bigger one, which was based on the Ram truck platform, basically a frame, ladder type construction with independent front suspension and a solid rear axle. So these old trucks, these Wagoneers, used to have straight axles and leaf springs under them, and they were quite unruly. Now, where the relationship happens between the old and the new is when the Wagoneers were no longer made, somewhere in the 90s, I believe, and the Durango was out in the late 90s, kind of filling that market for Chrysler. eventually the Durango had run its course for Chrysler. And what happened was around 2009, I believe, they stopped making the Ram truck platform based SUVs and started making the Grand Cherokee, the modern Grand Cherokee, which I think that ran from somewhere around 92 or 3 all the way until they still make them. Now they have the Wagoneer, which is a whole nother play on words. And it is its own standalone structure, and I haven't cut one up yet, so I don't know what they're made of underneath. My guess is a lot of plastic, glue, aluminum, and electronic garbage. But this is not that. This is an old tank. It's basically a giant tank. Now what happened with the Durangos when they discontinued them is they picked them back up again as a rebadged Grand Cherokee. And the Grand Cherokee is not, it's a unibody construction, so it doesn't have a frame. And when the Durango did that, now they gave it a bigger HEMI motor. They put those 6.4s in them, and they're just really cool. They make a track version of it. It's awesome. And I like what they've done, but I mean, it's still unibody. So it's not really a station wagon. It's more like a bloated car, kind of like everything on the road today. Everyone drives the same weird shaped toasters. But for me, I saw these, and I didn't know that there were several different sizes of them, but there are. And I saw them as an opportunity to repower it with the Dodge Durango, as you've seen me do dozens of times on this channel. I encourage you to go back, take a look at some of the older videos from even 5 years ago. You wouldn't believe some of the things we were doing with virtually hand tools and an idea. So that gives you a bit on the relationship between the Wagoneer, that was built, this one by AMC Corporation, and the Dodge Durango, the 04 through 09, which came with the HEMI engines and had a ladder frame construction. Me and my scientific brain decided to take one of these and put it on one of those. And this is how I did it. This is the headliner, the upside down part of the headliner, and the reason why that's rubbed through is because it was a nest and it was soaked with piss. This is basically cardboard, and man does it stink, and I've washed it. But the purpose of today is going to be a whole headliner. We're going to put the whole headliner in here because we have all the parts to use as a template. You see, here's the stringers. We have these, those will go back in, and then here's the other part of it, which smells as bad as it looks, I'm telling you. So what I'm going to use is this. It's basically like the same thing, particle boards, compressed cardboard, and I'm going to use these as templates. We'll cut them all and we'll make them. Now finding this color was virtually impossible, and I gave up quick. So we got some brown. We're going to do a brown headliner, and there you go. Let's get that done. I'll show you in a minute how it worked out. up to this point, this truck has been an enormous amount of work. And I know it seems like on video form, because everybody goes, wow, you made that look so easy. You know what, the reality is it's not easy. I mean, I have holes all over my hands. Both my elbows, you know, feel like I've been wrenching for years because, well, I have been. Pulling something like this out of a field in Pennsylvania and setting it down on an '06 Dodge Durango with a HEMI in it, I mean, that's cool. It gives it a whole new lease on life. The thing will be able to live for years to come, and a bunch of people are going to be able to throw their bicycles or their surfboards or whatever inside of this thing and head on down the road. And for me, that's a win. So I've given this thing a full service, shocks, sway bar links, sway bar bushings, the engine's been serviced, it's got new tires, good brakes, and it's ready to go. Oh, I did the exhaust manifold bolts. Everything underneath is pretty much buttoned up. The body is fully secured. I still have to do the lights, and I'm going to do something with the gauge cluster because it's kind of just zip tied behind the dash, and I want to put a power outlet in the dash so that, you know, anyone who ends up with this thing can drive down the road and plug their phone in. But it's been up in the air for several days, and I want to get the wheels on, set it on the ground, start it, and pull it out, listen to it, see how it's acting, make sure everything's groovy, and then I'll do the lights, and on down the road it's going. One of these is headlights. And let's go with this one. Just take a guess. No. Let's go with this one. There's your headlights. So let's try this. Now when I turn the brights, it should go out. Yep. Do they both go out? Yeah. Okay. So I should have brights and turn signals all the way across now. Lights off, running, turn, turn, headlights, turn, turn, brights. Okay, got it. This pile of mirrors, all of it, it's basically, these are old school trailer mirrors that back in the 70s, they used to hook these like this and close the hood on them, and that would give you these trailer mirrors that you could see your trailer all the way down the road on like a station wagon or something like that. This one is off a Ford truck, and I had another one but I gave it to my buddy. But all of these mirrors I got at a garage sale for $5. And I can tell you that these are an aftermarket, like an auto parts store brand from the late 70s, early 80s. And these are going for big money now, like $100 a pair or more, for ones that work. But I'm going to use all the parts, and I'm going to build a set that go on like what they call East Coast mirrors, where it'll bolt to the door and bolt to the drip rail, which I don't like particularly, but I went on there and I started to look to try and buy these, the little ones that went here, and $300 and up for a pair of used ones. Forget that, that's not happening. I have these, they were $5, they're going on. After a few hours, I replaced all the hardware, had to take the mirror themselves apart. But overall, I'd say we're in pretty good shape. We got 2 mirrors, West Coast style or East Coast, or who cares? I don't have to buy them, there they are. Still got some leftover bits, might use somewhere else. But I mean, basically, what is this one? This is our driver mirror. Let's come over here and see how that acts. Huh? Look at that. So that's it. it's done. It's got lights. Yeah, I know those are supposed to be the reverse lights, but the way the Durango is switched through the ECU, you have to run a separate bulb for your turn, your tail, and your stop. But what I really dig are these side indicators. They work, and they actually flash opposite, and I don't know why they do that, who cares? But yeah, they're really cool. I'm super pumped. It came out way better than I thought. I dig it. I'm super pumped. I was able to keep the gauges intact. You could make all those work, but then you would need a standalone controller for the Durango transmission and engine. This down here is awesome. It's the original vacuum operated Quadra-Track selector plate that used to have a switch in it, and it says normal use all driving surfaces. That's your all-wheel drive, so that's right. The top says Quadra-Track full-time four-wheel drive, which is what you would do for that, and then emergency drive only when immobile due to wheel spinning. That means if you're stuck, put it over there and mash the pedal. So that's really cool. I dig that. I'm glad I was able to save most of the looks of this stuff. The headliner came out just fine. I'm not mad about it. It ain't perfect, but considering a replacement is $1,000, that worked out because it probably cost me quite a bit less than that. But yeah, it's great. Sound mint. You got that working up there. So cool. All right, I promised some in-car, so we're gonna drive this baby. Tilt wheel, it's fancy. Man, you can't be mad about that. Hang on, I need my things. I have to take them. I would wear those seat belts, but honestly, it's probably the only thing I didn't wash, and they're gross. All right, I'm gonna leave this open. That's where the gauges are. Good visibility, there's glass everywhere. Steering's nice. Engine sounds flawless. Let's hope it stays that way, eh? I want to warm it up, you know, before I really get into it. We got overhead, how much fuel's left, economy. That sounded like shit. Basically a stock Jeep with knobby tires. People don't do that. It sounds terrible. You know it does when you drive in it. A lot of traffic. Keeping an eye on the temperature. I don't want any nonsense, you know what I'm saying? This is a fast road. Speed limit's 50, but you'd think it was 70. They pass each other out here. They're trucking. They're getting after it. All right, here we go. Disc brakes, this baby comes to a halt. There's a little race car out there. That's cool. not even going 50, I don't think. All right, I'm going exactly 50. This thing rips. This thing jams. I really should take it in a field and just slide the thing, but honestly, I don't want to ruin it. Gotta be nice. I mean, I don't have to be. Alright, I'm gonna go up here, switch the camera view. Hang on a second. So that's basically what it looks like from my point of view. I'm gonna get this camera pulled back. Neighbor's kid, older dude, you know, we're all older now, but we were pulling up to the car shows when I first put it together, and I pulled right up into the area, and he goes, and I saw him walking, you know, they were all walking, and he goes, oh, it don't look right. I was like, I know. And it doesn't if you think of this in terms of Wagoneers and you know, the two-door, the four-door. They have big fat tires, they have wagon wheels usually, you know, the whole era correct kind of thing. This is not that. But I had a vision and I chased it, and although I had to make up 10 inches of wheelbase, literally. So the Durango is 119.2. This truck is 109-ish. I clearly don't remember because I never would have bought it had I had to make up 10 inches. But I did. I made it up. You know, I'm not sure what happened. My friend and I were talking about it over and over and over, and I go, dude, I never make that kind of mistake. I can look at something and just know. And this one, I blew it, you know? And he goes, yeah, that's not like you. I don't know how you made that mistake. And I wrestled with it for days, and I finally went to myself, I go, why? How did I screw that up after so many of these Durango chassis swaps, you know? And as it turns out, anybody who's over the age of 40, give or take, will know that these are pretty important. You know, your ability to focus fast, that changes as you age. And what I think happened was, I had one of these here. It was a gray one. I had it over the, I don't know, last spring or something like that. And I measured it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. But what I think I did was, I think I pulled the tape measure without my glasses on. And while I think I saw 119, I might have saw 110. Right, that's the problem. There's missing 9.5 or so, you know, wheelbase inches, and that was problematic. I never would have tried it had I known there was that much to make up. I don't mind scooting, you know, the chassis or the body or changing wheel wells, but these wheel wells are so specific. They're square, you know, almost. They're, I don't know, whatever that is. And I knew it was going to be trouble. Like I said before, I was heartbroken when I set this body down on the Durango and saw how far off it was. I was like, I was ready to scrap the whole thing. So I'm glad I did not do that. It turned out really good, and unless I pointed out what's going on in this area, if I don't point that out, nobody even notices. They just go, oh, it's big, it's HEMI, it's all-wheel drive, it's, you know, it seats 12 or whatever. And as long as I don't point that out, no one notices. So from where I'm standing, I'm going to stop pointing that out. So yeah, for you know, all intents and purposes, this thing is awesome. It's ready to go. I still got to do the lights. I got out here early today and I said to myself, I just want to get the lights to work. Headlights, turn signals, brake lights, and that's all I really want to do. I probably put in 10 hours today and it absolutely did not involve the lights at all. I'll show you here in a second. When it's daylight in the morning, just give me a second. We'll run through this with some good vision and some good lighting. I got the lights, everything was done and ready. I took it on a test drive, a good long one, and I was hammering it. And I can tell you one thing, this thing gets it. It's lighter than a Durango. It might not seem like it, but it is. It's a heavy body, but it's lighter than that truck because this thing just rails down the road. It's so much fun. I got back, parked it, and I happened to notice a little puddle that wasn't there before. So I go underneath and I touch the flaky rust on the oil pan, and you see that? Tears of oil. So I can't let this, you know, I can't let this go. I gotta pull it in right now, and I'm gonna take the engine out, and I can't take the grill off because all of this is welded together. So I basically have to take the motor separate from the transmission and pick it straight up, roll the body back, set it down, flip it over. I'm going to put it on an engine stand. I'm going to service the motor, obviously change the oil. I'm going to replace the pan and just go through it real quick so that this thing lives for decades, not minutes. I won't have you watch this entire process. There's going to be a lot of swearing. There will probably be a lot of bleeding and probably some drinking. But give me 1 second and let me get this engine out. I'll show you how it looks and what has actually happened. I've got all the ancillaries disconnected, you know, everything around it. Ancillaries, is that right? At any rate, everything's disconnected. All I have are the trans to motor bolts, the torque converter bolts, this big gusset that they put on these, also the motor mounts themselves. All the wiring's disconnected and laid out to the side. So basically, as soon as I finish this cup of coffee, I gotta go lay on the ground and unbolt that nonsense, all of it. And then I'll be able to take the chain fall, grab this, lift it up, lower the truck, put the wheels on, roll it outside, and put this motor on a stand, and then you can see what happened to it. It's sort of stupid because it's not that old. I mean, I guess, you know, 06 is fairly old these days. And it's weird the way everything under the truck's in good shape except for that pan, you know, that pan just got, I don't know if there was, you know, moisture or something, but it just eventually wore through the double layers because an oil pan is 2 layers. You'll see when I flip this over, but give me another second and I'll get this out. Anybody order a HEMI? The engine's out, obviously. I'll get all that cleaned up here in a minute. But here's the engine upside down. I drain the oil out of it. The coolant, no matter what you do, 90% of it ends up on the floor, and it just makes me so mad. But there's the actual product. Oil pans are 2 layers, and this one just happened to have enough moisture under the vehicle to rust through one of the layers, and that would weep when it got hot, and that's just no good for me. So let me take this off. I'll turn it back over to let it drip out overnight. The pan should be here hopefully tomorrow. Nice new spark plugs. Yes, there are 16 in this engine. We have our oil pan gasket. We have our new oil pan. That's also a windage tray, which stops the slosh of oil. Actually, oil can reduce horsepower if there's too much of it flinging around. I'll grab all of my parts, put them on, and then turn this over and do the pan, and then get this back in the car. I also did a new oil sending unit down there, and some new tensioner pulleys just because I had them on hand. But this thing's gonna run and drive fantastic, and it's gonna be reliable, and it's way better than it was. It was good before, but I just couldn't let it go with that oil leak. And now that it's out, we were able to do a couple other things. I've got this really cool fan that's going in. Well, it's in, it's bolted in. I just gotta wire it. The whole thing's gonna be just a better all-around unit. And the hope is we're gonna drive it 8 hours away. The next part's kind of fun because this engine is serviced, and I even sprung for a Mopar oil filter. I never go that extreme. Usually it's from eBay, you know, I'll get an STP, but it's a Chinese knockoff and it's called STD. Wait a minute. Anyways, no, yeah, this thing's ready to go. I need some straps on it, pick it up really high, and then I should be able to roll this in myself, finagle it in, and slowly work at all the hundreds of fasteners and bolts and wires. But I'm excited because I can't believe these parts got here so fast. Usually you're waiting for days and days and days for parts, and this stuff's just hitting, so let's get it. So we're nearing the end of this build, finally. I got the engine back in, I got everything buttoned up. It runs so good now that it's ridiculous. This is better than it was before I noticed the oil pan leaking. So, it's brilliant. Wait till you hear this thing. Listen. Are you kidding me? It's mint. It's so good. And I took it for a drive. I was hammering on it. This thing gets it. It gets it. It was well worth it. I'm glad. This is a better truck for it. But anyway, I'm not going to end this video with that. You need to be in it with me while I just drop the hammer. It's going to a big show out of state. It's going to be cool. But for right now, give me a second and we'll let tomorrow come. And we got a couple of things to do. We're very, very busy. But I want you to see this running and driving on the road because, man, this thing's hot. Talking about this thing's a Cadillac. Retarded. It's not retarded. It's awesome. Oh, that's retarded.
I think you need that.
I broke the thing. I need my. Put this in for me. I can't see it.
Well,
Positive.
you're old.
Positive is somewhere. Be positive. It might be on there.
What goes on first? This?
Let me see the thing. This is the button. That goes like that for these. This,
I know, but where's the battery go?
Let me put it down there. I don't know.
Put the battery in first. Now try that and put it together. If it doesn't work, then that's not how it goes. Your key's a little bent.
I wonder if I just did that.
Oh my gosh, we're not gonna have a key.
It's the only key. Yeah. Why did this happen? This shouldn't have happened.
Because it's a Dodge.
Well, there's no.
I think it's on there.
I do. Should be fine.
It started it.
Actually, I don't need this open anymore. I know it. It's working with it, sure. think jams, don't it?
Yeah, jammy jams.
So we loaded it on a trailer and we hauled it all the way down to Tennessee, where we took it to one of the biggest car shows of the year. We got to see a ton of awesome cars. This thing was a huge hit. The place was packed. We had a great time. We saw a lot of sights, a lot of cool cars. We rode 24 miles in 2 days. We got caught in the rain. It was an awesome overall experience. Made it all the way back home. And I'm here to tell you it was a lot of fun. So, thanks once again for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.